For today's video, I'm going to show you everything you need to know about filleting and cleaning skate. So this is a torn back skate, but it's going to work on every type of skate. What we're going to need in order to clean the skate is, for one thing, we're going to need a bucket or a sink to discard of the parts that we will not be using. Besides this, you also really need a filleting knife. I'm using this one, it's pretty flexible. You need a sharp filleting knife. So those are the essentials that we need. Other things that can come in handy is going to be a towel that you're not afraid to get dirty, a pair of pliers. Now we can use both the towel and the pair of pliers to clean off the skin of the skate, or we can just use the knife. So I'm going to show you all three ways to do that. Besides that, something that might come in handy is a good pair of scissors and a little bit of a stiffer knife to cut through the backbone there. So here we have the skate that we're going to be working with today. If you have bought a skate at the market, you probably already have one that is dead and perhaps disemboweled, or you may already just have the wings. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to add some chapters down in the video description, as well as some timestamps here if you want to jump forward in the video. For us that have a living skate, what we need to do first is kill it and bleed it. So as you can see, I've cut both sides of the gill of the skate here. I'm going to turn it around so it's a little bit easier to see here. Now from this side you can see I've cut all the way in through the gills on both sides, and I lay it with the head down in some cold water for 5 minutes. But really I would suggest that you leave it in there a pretty long time, probably at least 15 minutes. As skates, well, they are survivors, they're not going to die super easily. Besides that, I'll also disembowel it and remove the guts. The only thing that's really to keep from the guts of the skate is going to be the liver. I am going to feed this to the cat, but this is also edible. Now that we're on the same page here, let's get started. So go ahead and get your filleting knife, or if you have a stiffer knife, now would be a good time to get it. What we're going to do first of all is that we're going to remove the tail as well as the head of the skate here. Now you want to be a little bit careful with the skates, especially these with thorns, as they can really hurt your fingers if you're not careful. Now a little trick you can do here, fisherman's trick, is to take your middle finger and stick it through their back door like that. That way you're going to get a good grip of the skate, but you can leave it laying down as well. It's just going to be easier if you do it like this. Anyway, take your knife and we're going to stick it directly into the middle of the skate here, just besides the backbone, and we're just going to go ahead and use a lot of power here, and we're going to cut through the backbone here, which is actually cartilage, but it's pretty hard. Don't worry, this is the only hard part. The rest of the fish is pretty soft and easy to work with. From here we're going to go ahead and move the knife all the way up here along the wing. As you can see here, you're going to feel the cartilage on the side here as you're moving up, and we can just repeat on the other side here. As you can see, it's very easy to do this when you have your finger up the back side of the fish, as you kind of straighten up the skin of the fish here. Now this entire tail section can be discarded off. Moving on to the top here, we need to break through the backbone here, or back cartilage again. Now if you're just going to take the wings off, you don't need that. You can just cut up here on both sides and then cut through here through the cartilage, and you will release both of the wings. But we want to keep this section in the middle here on, as it's going to be a lot easier when we're working with the fish later. So I'm going to turn it around here so it's a little bit easier for me. As you can imagine, I like to hold on through inside the mouth. Be careful, it can be sharp. So again, sticking my knife down there, and we're going to cut through the cartilage here at the back. Now if you find this to be a little bit tricky, what you could alternatively do is to use the hammer and just beat through the backbone there. I'm going to repeat the same process here, going up the side of the fish here, all the way up. Now you're going to feel the bone here as well as you move your knife up here, like that. All the way up. And then we repeat here on the other side as well. All the way up to the top, like that. And here we have the head, and that we can discard off. Here comes the next part. I'm just going to turn it around here, and I'm going to turn it with the front facing up. I'm going to grab my scissors, and I'm just going to make a tiny little cut here around the edge here. It's just going to make it easier for the skin to release later when we pull it off. I'm also going to go ahead and cut the lower part of the fin hair off, as there really isn't much meat down here. You can feel how far down you want to go. I think on this size fish, I'm going to take all this off as the meat gets really thin down here. Now this is just cartilage, so it's very easy to cut through with a good pair of scissors. You could also use your knife for this. So I got my fillet knife here ready, and we are ready to start filleting off the skin here of this skate. So I already did one side here, as you can see. For this other side, you can see where I started cutting on this side. It's right below where you can feel the cartilage falling downwards. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut in there first of all. So as we cut in skin here, there are like 2 layers of skin here, or I guess one of them is sinew connected to the meat here. We want to make sure that we get both those layers in here at the same time. Otherwise, that sinew is going to be a big job to get off afterwards once we're done here. I'm going to cut down all along the side here, making sure I get both the skin and the sinew, as you can see here. Let me just turn this around, and I'm going to do the same thing going up the other side here as well. Now what we're going to do is that I'm going to pull up the skin here, and I'm going to place my filleting knife underneath here, and I'm just gently going to slide it up. Be careful that you don't cut through the skin. I mean, skate have pretty thick skin, but it's still pretty easy to cut through the skin. You want to make sure that you don't cut into the meat, because these flatfish, they don't have very thick meat, so if you cut into the meat itself, you're really losing quite a large amount there. Going down here gently like this, and this really is going to be the easiest way to do this if you have never filleted a skate before. I'm going to show you how to do it with a towel as well as with pliers here in a moment, but I just want to encourage you to use your fillet knife for this. Use a sharp one and a nice flexible one, and this is going to be finished in no time. The thing is, when you use the tongs or the towel method, is that you very easily rip through the skin, but the sinew will be stuck onto the fillet, so you'll have to go over it with a fillet knife afterwards either way. Now I'm sure if you're really good, you may get both layers, but I'm telling you, as a fisherman of many years at this point that has filleted his share of skate, it is better to just use the knife. In fact, let me just show you here. So these are the pliers that I have brought out. I recommend that you get some that don't have a very large surface area, because if they have a large surface area, what's going to happen is that you're going to rip the pliers off. So I'm just going to turn the skate with the wing facing me here. Here is where this nice little middle cartilage point comes in, because you have something to hold on to. I'm going to put the skin inside the pliers here. I'm just going to do 2 layers so it doesn't rip through as easily. You're going to need a lot of power for this as well. So start pulling here all the way as down. Now you may need to move it around a little bit as you're doing this. And then we move it a little bit over here. Sometimes you're going to rip the skin loose when you're doing this. Don't get frustrated, just start again. If your pliers get really slimy, what I found is it's better to just rinse them off or clean them instead of continuing, as it really gets very slippery. And you can always go back to using the knife. Now the third option is going to be to get a pretty dirty old towel. You don't want to get the clean and nice one that you use. It's going to add some nice friction there. So I'm going to put it around my hand, and I'm going to go ahead and grab onto the skin the same way that we did with the pliers, holding on to the middle section here with my other hand, and we start pulling. Now some people really like this because they say they feel where the skin is better, and I do like this more than the pliers. It's just that the towels get really dirty as well. So here you can see, and we pulled that off as well. That is the skin removed on one side. Frankly, not much sinew here left. You can see there is a little bit sinew here from the middle where we started using the pliers as well as the towel there. So what we need to do now is go over all of this stuff with our knife, and that can be quite time consuming. So if you just start filleting normally with the knife right away, you don't need to do this. Let me show you here on the back side. There is a lot of meat here on the other side as well. So I'm going to go in with my knife like that, like we did before, and I'm cutting through both layers. There isn't as thick meat on the backside, but it's still worth getting in here to clean it out, I think. So I'm just going to do the same thing here. All right, so almost approaching the end here. And I just wanted to say one thing that often comes to my mind when I reach the end here. I often get this urge to really just pull it off. And I would advise against it at some level, especially if this is your first few times, as it can be this is time consuming, you know, it takes a lot of time to just go scraping down along the side of the skate here. But I would encourage you to just continue with your knife, as it's very easy to just rip off the skin and then you're sitting there with all that sinew still stuck onto there. Finally got the skin off from the backside as well there. The backside is a little bit softer skin, so it may be easier to so just keep that in mind. So what I'm going to do now is just cut off this residual sinew that you can see on here. It's this white stuff. It's not really that good to eat it, so I'm just going to clean it off nicely here. If you have any of these thorns on the skate, just cut it off simply like that. Alright, so the skin is off the entire skate here, and we are ready to start making boneless fillets, or fillets that we can put on the grill, on the pan, or wherever we're going to use the skate. Now there are 2 ways we can do this. We can either cut down on the side of the cartilage here, through it like this, all the way down. So I'm just gonna cut straight down through all the cartilage here as the skate is moving around. That's one side, and we're gonna do the same here on the other side. So up against the cartilage here, the thick part, we're going to cut through all of it like this, all the way up there. Don't worry, it's not a zombie skate. It's just, it does this. So that is going to be the first way that we can fillet the skate. I like to do it like this, but it's going to have cartilage inside here. As you can see, it's very easy to just scrape off once the fish is finished cooked, but obviously it's going to be in there. The reason I would like to do it like this is, first, we're going to make a boneless fillet, and you're going to see it is quite cumbersome and takes a bit of time to take off the clean boneless or cartilage-free fillets there. But secondly, if you can see here on camera, the meat on the top side here is a lot thicker than the one on the bottom. So we lose a lot of meat as well when we take the cartilage out. So it's just going to be a lot of hassle and you're going to get less meat. So you just have to weigh up yourself. Is it worth to take it off now before we cook it, or is it better to just take it off afterwards? Anyway, let's move on here. I'm going to place this steak to the side. All right, so first of all, I'm just going to go ahead and remove this entire part of the cartilage in the middle here. It's just a little bit easier to work with the wing alone. We're going to turn the fillet here so that we have the largest part of the wing facing in towards us. So we're going to go ahead and stick our knife going down along the cartilage. Now, as you saw on the other fillet here, we can go pretty deep here. This is the top side. And yes, it's going to move around this the entire time as we are cutting here. Now, you want to be a little bit careful as you're cutting here. It is cartilage, so it's quite easy to cut through it if you're not careful. I would also recommend a really flexible knife, as it is a little bit tricky to get down here, especially at the top part. You can see the meat kind of forms out like fingers, so you want to be very careful. Go down along the meat here. Now, if you cut into the cartilage, it's no big deal. We can have a look at it once we're done filleting here. Going down the wing, you can go as far out as you want, or as narrow as you want. The further you go out there, the thinner and thinner the meat is going to get. So it's really up to you how much time you want to take making these steaks. As you can see, they kind of turn into fingers, and these fingers get thinner and thinner as the further you go out. Anyway, let me just finish up this side here. All right, so we got the fillet off on this side. So let me just turn this around. And then from here, we just repeat the process on the back side there as well. But as you can imagine, there is not a lot of meat to get out of these things. So anyway, let's fire up the skillet here, and I'm gonna show you how to cook the big wing here and get off all the meat. All right, so welcome to the cooking show here. We're finally ready to fry the skate. So I'm just gonna go ahead and add some butter to the pan. Now, if you have a cool recipe that you want to share, I would love to hear it, as I really love cooking up different types of fish. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put quite a good serving of butter on here. And once we have the butter nice and melted on here, I'm gonna put this entire skate steak on here. Now, we're gonna put it on here for about, let's do 5 minutes on both sides. Super excited about this one. And we have now had the skate here on the pan for about 10 minutes. So let's just turn it off here. I've turned it around once as I was cooking it, and I'm going to tell you, it smells so good right now. I'm just going to show you how easy it is to get the meat off the cartilage here. And here you can see the cartilage in the middle. It's kind of spun itself up. The meat has literally come off on its own. No need to go through that horrible process of filleting it. So let me just grab a nice taste here, and cheers. That tastes so good after all that work. My favorite way to cook skate is actually to grill it, but that's more of a summer thing. But this was really good as well. I would love to hear how you like to make your skate, some recipes, and I hope this video was really helpful to you. Skate is an underappreciated fish for sure. It's not the primary one we fish for, but it is one that tastes really good, and not many people here in Norway actually eat it. So yeah, thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.